Hello class, this is Mr. Heim. Today we'll learn how to grab the reader's attention and build up to the thesis by learning about introductory paragraphs. Introductory paragraphs consist of three basic parts. The hook, which in this sample paragraph is in orange, the bridge is in yellow, and the thesis in green. We already learned about the thesis last class period. This document will be available on Google Classroom for reference. Before we get into the lesson, I'd like to review the thesis. Down here, for example theses, I have two policy theses that um, that one is about a school issue and the other is a non-school issue. And you'll know they're uh, good theses, good policy theses, because they have should or should not. They take a side, they tell the reader what the rest of the paper will be about, and they are non-moral issues. So no one's going to get super heated about soda being allowed on school grounds or not being allowed on school grounds. Um, and violent video games, people still can have their opinions changed. It's not like abortion or gun control where people get violent over it. They get too intense over it. So onto the lesson. The hook is the first. The hook is the first sentence of the introductory paragraph. The hook is a broad statement that grabs the reader's attention. There are several types of hooks, and using one will help you formulate an introduction. So the first one is generalization, and this is going to be they're all broad statements, but let's just say this one is a broad statement about an activity, people, or whatever. A good example of this one is Americans love cheeseburgers. Now, not all Americans love cheeseburgers. Not all Americans love cheese or burgers, but this is just a generalized statement that kind of encapsulates a popularity thing. Next is a factor statistic. This is a number or percentage. For these, you'll use a number or a percentage in your hook. So let's just say this isn't true, but I'm just going to throw one out there. Let's just say 10% of people have milkshakes for breakfast. See, it's got the percentage that shows you that um, a number of people have milkshakes for breakfast. Uh, the question, this is something to ask to get the reader wondering. It's a question to get the reader on your side to wonder, yeah, why is that? Why do people think that way? Why is this thing the way that it is? A good example of this one is, why do people claim that heavy metal is satanic? Satanic? Spelling mistake, sorry. And they also say that they can't understand the vocals. It's just something to wonder, like, yeah, why is that? Why do a lot of people think this way? I mean, they say it's this way, but they also say this other thing. And that's just an example of this one. There are many questions that you could ask. Um, so onto the bridge or the transitions. Now these are the bridge transitions the reader from the hook to the subject of the paper to prepare for the thesis. The bridge can be several sentences long, and it explains a little bit about the subject or dilemma. The reader may need some background information, context, or relevance on the subject. So for generalization, let's say this will help this to use this one, it helps to use the previous verb. So in the cheeseburger example, we said Americans love cheeseburgers. So let's use that same word love, and let's just say um, this love of cheeseburgers, or just this love, has caused people to Explore any available topping that could be put on a burger. We can go further than that. We could talk about bacon or jalapenos if you wanted to do that. Um, let's carry on. Bacon has become such a staple, and carry on. Fact and statistic. This will be a result of the fact and why it matters. We'll scroll down a little bit. A transition for this one, it could be these people have a portable and delicious breakfast. The question, what you want to do for this one is you put the reader in the shoes of someone with an opinion on the question. You don't answer the question. You want the reader to answer it for themselves. Your paper is there to influence them to answer it the way that you want them to. It's real sneaky. You want to be sneaky with this. And an example of this one, transition for the question hook would be you can't please everyone all of the time, but middle is broad enough to please anyone at any time. So that brings us to the thesis paragraph and the thesis sentence, which is the last part of the introduction paragraph. The thesis is the focus of the paper, which we've already discussed. Everything from the thesis onward is discussing the thesis. That's how important the thesis is. Each of the types of introductory paragraphs has a thesis and can easily follow the hook and bridge. So we already know what a thesis is, but from our explanations, let's come up with a couple thesis statements for these. For the generalization, this was the cheeseburgers one. Let's just say cheeseburgers shouldn't need bacon to be delicious. For the fact and statistic, let's just say more people should accept milkshakes as an acceptable form of breakfast. And a question could be more people should accept heavy metal because of the variety it provides. Now that's now before we conclude, I'll show you a couple really quick resources. If you just Google hook bridge thesis, you can go to images and find a few, slides people have put up. Scrolling down a little, I found one earlier. Here's just an example of a hook bridge and thesis about To Kill a Mockingbird. And then if you Google hook bridge and thesis, the first thing that comes up is this Grammar Grounds grammar education website that has good explanations and short definitions of the hook, bridge, and thesis. You might be able to gain something from this, but there's not a great explanation of what the transitions are. Thank you for watching this video on the parts of introductory paragraphs. Please go and complete the hook bridge thesis quiz on Google Classroom. It is due before the next class period. Thanks for watching.